Are we live?
We are live.
All right, we're live.
Send it.
All right, I don't even know what episode this is yet because we're still getting things sorted out.
Yeah, it's around 8 or 9-ish, but we can skip over the number.
I think this might be 8. Yeah, the number's not important.
No,
it's right. It's right here.
It's the Tim Speer episode.
Yeah. So if you guys are listening, thanks for tuning in. This episode, we have a guest on here that you've probably heard his story in multiple other places on the internet. It's a wild one. We are gonna dive into some stuff that has not been talked about before. New stories. And Tim Speer is a 10-year Navy SEAL, and then had some extensive. Man, just dive into it, dude. I don't know how to describe your life.
A bit of a wild ride. I didn't leave the SEAL teams on the best terms. You know, left through the prison system or the military prison system, the UCMJ. Spent 7 months in the Brig at Miramar. Which we could talk about that. We could talk about that for hours. That was quite the experience.
You dropped the soap.
Yeah. So, I did, I tried to go to college. Nick and I went to high school together in, Southern Arizona. And I tried to go to college for about a year, before they told me that I shouldn't come back. That was at Northern Arizona University. And then, started looking at the military. Had a buddy from high school that said, you know, you were always such a good swimmer. Why don't you be a rescue swimmer in the Coast Guard? Because he happened to be in the Coast Guard at the time. Check that out. They turned me down because my vision was too bad. So went to go join the Marine Corps like my grandpa in my hometown. They shared a foyer. Marine Corps was the left, Navy was the right, and standing right inside that doorway was a boatswain mate. I wound up joining the Navy.
There you go. All right. That's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. So join the Navy for the SEAL teams. That was the whole goal.
What was the pitch that he gave you?
So I sit down, tell him what just happened to me with the Coast Guard, turn me down for my vision, and then explain to him, you know, my grandfather was a Marine in World War II, and I always thought they were the most badass dudes on the planet. They still are badass dudes, like love Marines. And he's like, well, you know, you thought about, you know, becoming a Navy SEAL, and he pointed the poster on the wall of the guy coming out of the water.
Oh, yeah.
His face is painted, the boonie cover and shit, and his rifle. I'm like, did you not just hear the whole story about the Coast Guard turning me down? Like, what makes you think these guys are going to let me in? Wound up doing that. Had you as my SQT instructor.
Sorry.
But actually, this is probably the first most relevant topic to talk about as far as my story and my timeline. So I was a troublemaker even growing up. I didn't develop all of my criminal history in the military. Most of it was actually before. And when I was trying to get into the Navy, a couple things went wrong. And this was 2008, after college had told me not to come back. Because I had definitely done a few criminal things there. Just being an idiot. I was a jackass. A kid.
Yeah, normal aggressive.
Isn't NAU a Christian school as well?
No, it's not. You're probably thinking of Grand Canyon.
That's right. All right.
So, no, I think NAU is more of a lesbian and Indian school. If you're a lumberjack and you don't laugh at that, fuck you. Anyways, what was the question?
About how you got into the Navy and what that process was.
Oh, like. Yeah. So when I was 18, my mom found a bunch of liquor in my bedroom.
Gotta hide that shit better, dude.
Yeah, dude. So I was a bagger at Bash's, which is like Ralph's or Albertsons or whatever the grocery store is where you live. And one of my jobs at the end of the shift was to take the trash out, and there were trash cans on the end of every aisle. So when I would go down the alcohol aisle, I already had a few bags in the cart.
Oh, perfect.
And I just walked close enough to the shelves to like knock a few bottles in. And then at the end, I'd throw trash on top of it. And then I'd take it all out to the dumpster, and at the end of my shift, I'd wheel my Ford Exploder around and I'd load that bad boy up.
Classic.
Yeah. And then I'd sell it at school for
Genius.
100% margin.
That's exactly what I would have done.
Smart.
Yeah. I actually would hide it at that abandoned house next to the casino
Yeah.
on the north end of Rancho.
I'm surprised the illegals running across the border didn't find that shit as well. Although they're probably so thirsty, the last thing they want is bourbon and vodka.
Like, damn it.
They just take swigs out of it. Like, oh,
It's not tequila.
although Mexicans drink soda or Coke instead of water, so
That's
they
true.
probably wouldn't have skipped a beat.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I would have just
God, no
been
mames.
pissed. So my mom found that. I think it was SoCo, Southern Comfort, in a bottle of Absolute. It was probably flavored or something. And she found it behind the speaker in my little entertainment center. I had like an Xbox and like, the old CRT TVs, the box TV. Wound up telling me I was grounded. I had just turned 18. This was 2 days after my 18th birthday. And my best friend was in town from California. She's like, you're grounded the whole time he's here. I was like, no, ground me for twice as long after
Later,
he leaves.
right,
Like, don't punish him. And she just refused. So I punched a hole in the drywall and my mom called the cops. Yeah. So
Your mom
that
called the cops on that.
yeah. And I was, because I was 18, 2 days, I actually went to jail. That was my first time going to jail.
Your mom threw you under the bus.
First of a few times. Yeah, she felt bad about it, but I got out and I went straight to the gas station. Because I was 18, I bought a pack of Marlboro Reds.
That'll
And
show
just
her.
like,
Yeah, right.
I
Oh,
waited
yeah.
for my buddy Jordan to come pick me up in his red Jeep Grand Cherokee. Right off the penitentiary. I don't know what, I think it's Navajo Road or something in Tucson.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all throughout high school, I was either getting brought home in cop cars or kicked out. I lived on my friends' couches from my sophomore to my senior year off and on. The only time I was like home was during the football season, my junior and senior year. But my junior and senior year, I was gone the rest of the time. It was just because I loved football. And I knew I had like a stable
Yeah.
ish.
Kind of a purpose.
If I was so busy and focused, like even when I'd come home, I'd shower, eat, and then I'd go for a run.
How did go through like the in processing for the Navy after like you had anything permanently on your record that had to get.
So all that stuff, I thought it was going to be off, but immediately, so like I come in, tell them about the vision thing, and they're like, "Oh, that's fine." The vision requirements in the Navy at the time were you had to be better than 2400. So 2400 means that if you are 2400, what you could see from 400 feet away, I'd have to be 20 feet away from to see it the same way you see it. So the bigger that number is, the worse your vision is. I was 2200. So it was like half of the worst at the time. Well, during this time where I was getting accepted, they found out about some of like the criminal charges on my record, which I was like, okay, I did diversion in high school for all that stuff. Like it should be off my record. I went to anger management or whatever course they made me do. Yeah. But they told me it would like be expunged was the term they used. At the time, they were doing FBI background checks. So they brought it up, and I had to go and talk to the CO of MEPS in Culver City, in the center of LA. Like, sat that. And I, like, dude, at the time, I had no military etiquette. So, like, everybody around me in uniform was like, bro, you're fucked. Like, and I didn't know. I was just like, yeah, I didn't know. Like, at the time, like, I didn't know how naive I was.
Sometimes
but he's
it's
like,
a good
you gotta
power
have
in that,
integrity to, like, you want to be a SEAL and all this stuff. And I was like, no, I explained to him, I really didn't think it would come up, but like, I understand. So in a weird, indirect way, it made me take more extreme ownership for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's a Jocko term, but like that is a real SEAL thing. Like,
yeah,
the guys that I love and respect are the ones that are just so openly raw and honest.
Well, hopes you get better too, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You can accept your responsibility and things. It's the only way to get better.
Yeah. So I wound up getting away with that, but the real thing, so there was still that fucking criminal in me. I was like, all right.
That's why we're on this podcast.
I get that. Yeah. Was my medical record. So another thing popped up at this whole time. It took me like 2 years to actually get in from the time I walked into that recruiter's office.
Oh, wow.
Read a couple of books, like a year and a half. It's because they found my criminal background and then they started looking at medical stuff and they found my vision. I wound up being grandfathered in because they changed the requirements from 2,400 to 2,075.
Wow.
I was 2,200. So, but I was like, whoa. Like, dude, no, dude, when I signed, I depped in.
Yeah.
It was 24. So they grandfathered me into that.
Man, that's good.
The problem was they went deep into my medical record and they found that I was prescribed albuterol in high school. When I moved from Southern California.
Is that for asthma?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. It's basically when your bronchioles get super fucking
Yeah,
inflamed,
I had
opens
asthma
them
when
all
I was
up.
a kid too.
Well, we thought that might be what I had when I moved from northern Los Angeles to southern Arizona. And it turned out to be allergies. But in high school, they prescribed me albuterol. And all of my doctor's notes at the time thought, oh, this is exertional or seasonal
seasonal asthma.
Asthma. Yeah. So the Navy was like, you have asthma. You can't be like, you can't even be in the military, you're much less a SEAL. I'm like, dude, that's not the case. So I call this doctor up from my hometown and he's like, he's kind of pushing back a little bit, like the whole time. I'm like, dude, come on. Like, I ran track. I was in, like, about me as a football player and like, I'm not like, come on, dude.
There's a lot of other things, but like,
just write like,
this,
and he's like, I can't ethically, like, I'll just write what I discovered at the time. I'm like, all right. Comes back and I'm like, this is terrible. Like, dude.
Thanks
So,
for nothing.
And this is 2008. So like, I think we just started using PDFs at the time and understanding like what that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I took that document and I would figure out the font size by like repeatedly printing out like words I wanted to use.
It's a lot easier process now.
Yeah. And then I would
did
use
it with my
like
COVID vaccine card.
a little bit of Scotch tape. And then, there'd be like black lines from the shadow of scanning that with like changing a sentence or a word.
Making ransom notes.
And I kept doing that over
Looks like
and
the
over
JFK
again.
documents now.
And manipulating. And I would use, I wonder if anybody remembers this. There used to be this like opaque purple whiteout fluid that you would use for just like scanning and copying stuff. So you would still be able to see it, but you could white out stuff. And I just kept putting that over like the black spots or like shadows until it looked like a real document that said what I wanted it to say. And then I mailed that in because they had to mail it to me and then the Navy.
Thanks, doctor.
Yeah, thanks for nothing.
Yeah, you got to do what you
should have got your
sometimes.
degree in graphic design.
Back then it would have worked. But
It's funny to this day. I never took driver's ed in high school because I was like, this is such a pain in the ass. Like I just don't want to do it. So I made a fake graduation certificate. I took it to the DMV.
It was so much easier.
I totally deserve my license. Yeah. I used to make fake IDs for the other kids in the high school at the time too.
Really?
Dude, they didn't. Well, they were not good though. So like, but it was New Mexico.
But that's what I'm saying is when we were younger.
Oh, this is in the 90s and like,
especially when you were young.
Dude, they had drive-up liquor windows in New Mexico. So like, this is like 1994, like 1993, 94. And so we're in Santa Fe and I'm just a fucking reckless little kid and I'm making fake IDs. And they were like terrible. You look at them now, they're like not even like fully laminated. They were just like a joke of an ID. So I went
flimsy piece of paper.
I remember I went in to buy some liquor one time, and the liquor store guy, he looked at me. I gave him the ID. He just hands it back. He's like, "Hey, no, the picture's all wrong and the lamination's bad. You got to redo this." But he gave it back to me. I'm like, all right, well, thanks for the tips, sir.
Thanks, professor.
Yeah. It's like,
have fun.
Yeah. But sometimes you got to get it done, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I could never be a cop. I would have let too many people off. Like
I was in high school.
I would give them tips on how to beat me.
My dad copied me forging money, like with like our copier and scanner and all this stuff, because my dad was a big computer nerd. And one time he comes in, he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I didn't really think it was bad at the time too. I was just trying to see how good I could get at it. And he pulls it out of the scanner and he's like, "You made this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Stop fucking making these." What he didn't know is I was paying for fucking chili cheese fries and Frito pies and corn dogs for like the past 2 months at school. Because like the ladies, working behind they're not exactly the best and brightest. So I was paying the high school with forged money that I was making.
Oh, wow.
And it worked for a while. It worked for a long while.
I mean, what do they have to lose?
I lost some chili cheese fries.
Dude, I mean, that being said, I just caught my youngest forging my signature like 3 weeks ago. That's beautiful, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Dude, it's so good. Also,
it's
your
so
signature's
good. I'm like, you're in first grade, dude.
Your signature's
Wow.
trash too.
Yeah, I know. I need to work on that. We need to make this more complicated. It's just my initials with scribbles after each letter.
Dude, my signature is so bad. I went to get something. What's a professional person that
Notary?
Went to get something notarized, and they saw me sign it, and they checked it like, that's not your signature. I'm like, you just saw me sign it. Like, what do you mean it's not my signature? Because it was so different.
What they were
It's literally
saying
just-
was
Mine's
your
different
signature
every time.
sucks.
yeah, basically, yeah.
That was a dumb signature.
Yeah, mine's different every time.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's literally scribbles.
that's hilarious.
Easy to
Really?
easy to forge.
I just
Yeah, mine just hucks. I don't know.
okay, good, because that's what mine.
It's not any better. It just doesn't look like a 1-year-old can represent it.
I think
Mine does.
buying a house will really change your perspective on.
That's when it changed for
Yeah.
me too. I used to take
No
pride
shit.
in my thing. Then I'm like, it's like 80 signatures you got to do. I'm at the end. I'm like, dude,
That and
fuck
buying
you,
cars,
fuck
I'm
this.
just wonk, wonk.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Next doc.
yeah.
There are
No
people
thanks.
who really draw it out. It's an ordeal each time. There are pauses built into the signature.
Yeah, my mom does that. Beautiful, beautiful handwritten signatures. Not
Yeah.
me. No, can't even read it.
Nope.
Yeah, if I was an athlete, they would like the whole verification of like, hey, Nick Betts hit this baseball in a grand slam and in the World Series, never verifiable.
Like, great.
Yeah.
I feel like they have to have somebody, like if you become like a professional athlete or somebody with a notable signature, they're like, hey, you got to make this shit consistent or else like your net worth
Probably.
or the value of your memorabilia is not going to be the same.
Well, now you just
Yeah.
take a selfie with everyone you
Yeah,
sign.
no
Like,
shit,
that's-
right?
Yeah, it goes to the owner. Yeah.
Or you just randomly say that one's not mine or that.
Every once in a while, I keep them on their toes.
Yeah.
You O.J. Simpson their ass.
Nope.
Feed them up on the strip and selling your shit.
Keep it a mystery. That's what I'm saying.
So
it's
this
like
forged
it's like a
document,
banky.
this forged document allowed you to get in the Navy.
Yep.
And so you went through MEPS. Did you ever have to go out of Phoenix for MEPS?
No.
No.
I did it all out of Culver City.
Oh, you went back to LA for that shit.
Yeah, because I tried the college thing and they were like, "Don't come back." So I went. I was actually during this whole 1.5 year process. I was working as a porter and a lube tech for my dad's Ford dealership. He is a service rider there to this day. So I moved cars around. Got to drive some cool stuff. That was fun. They should not have trusted me to do that at all. I did do dumb stuff and almost got tickets in other people's cars. But yeah, so like I would do pull-ups on like the spare tire rack every time I walked past them. Every lunch I'd run 3 or 4 miles during this time trying to build up. And then I would go and I would work at Buca de Beppo as a runner, just like, bringing food back and forth from the kitchen.
Yeah.
And trying to flirt with all the hot bartenders.
That probably helped you beef up too.
Yeah.
Just slamming someone's
I would-
leftover pasta.
I would go into the car wash at the Ford dealership and I'd have the Mexicans kind of like mist me off with the pressure washer. I'd stand back like far enough, be like, that stung my skin. Stop. Back up.
So wearing a white t-shirt.
Yeah.
I wonder why they always would.
You got my nipple.
You're lucky you didn't have him make you drinks, dude.
Yeah.
You would have found out what some date rape
Oh
looks
man,
like.
dude. I learned some funny terms and phrases in Spanish while I was doing that.
No shit.
Especially because they were like what we called satellite workers. So most of them had Down syndrome or severe, like on the spectrum, which I got a statement to make about that, man. Like, dude, I think we're all on the spectrum. Like, if neurodivergent is just It's a ridiculous phrase. Come on, guys. Let's move past that.
It just seems interesting.
Yeah, it just means that you're unique.
I'll take it.
You have a different life perspective.
Look at the leader of Doge and SpaceX and Tesla. Like, motherfucking spectrum.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely got a disability there.
Yeah, right?
He just has a different perspective.
Tell that to the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
Queers.
So how much did you weigh? Or what do you weigh now? And how much did you weigh when you went through?
When I went through buds, I was at like 175, maybe 180 on the high end. Right now, I'm walking probably 250, 220. Probably. I've been a fat boy the last few weeks, but I bounce in between like 210 to 215 most of the time. Yeah, like so for buds, you want to be lean. I tell guys this all the time. Like, buds is obviously just it's a gate to get through. But like to think that you're going to be running fucking 4 miles as fast as you can with nothing on you for a mission is just it's ridiculous. Yeah, no. It's kind of like the NFL Combine, man. Like, oh yeah, how many times you can bench 225 totally translates to how good of a offensive lineman you are.
Right.
Like, no, not at all. It's just a test gate. You have to get through it. And it's actually more important to get through that test gate for us. But once you get to the teams, like, here's the deal, man. Like, your job is to go and hunt bad guys on your nation's behalf. And the consequences of that are that, or I guess the risk of doing that is that these people that you're going to hunt are also trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And your entire life focus and purpose is to be better than your opponent and win because the consequences are death. So why wouldn't you want every single fucking advantage you could possibly get your hands on? And I think this is a topic that a lot of people avoid. They're uncomfortable with it. And I don't understand it personally. And I'll explain why I don't. But I guess from like a empathetic standpoint, I do understand why, especially if you're active duty, because it is illegal to use performance enhancing drugs. But let's say you, whoever's listening to this, your job is what I just explained. You have to go fucking hunt bad guys on your nation's behalf that want to kill you. And I say, hey, this will make you bigger, faster, and stronger. Undoubtedly, it's proven.
Yeah, and you recover better. Like,
yeah.
Like, why would you not do it?
Granted, there's also like, and at the same time, let's play devil's advocate. That same person is telling you it could cause anger issues. It could change your personality. Yeah. It could make you like, develop acne or jaundice. Let's get into all of it. You change the color of your teeth. All the horrible. You get hairier in certain places and less hairy in other places. That's my favorite one. That one might deter some dudes. Depends on how much you like your hair.
That's why I got to do HGH with the test.
Yeah. But the devil's advocate gives it to you raw and unlubed. He's like, this is if the consequences are that you and your let's even like. Also, that's super important to add in. Your friends are at risk with you, and what you do is also dependent on their survivability. Wouldn't you take every fucking advantage you could get?
Well, the same argument too is with women in combat arms or special operations, right? Because there's the beefy motherfuckers like you two that are. Sit at 230 when you're in the teams, then add on another 60, 70 pounds of gear-ish, depending on whatever position you fill. And let's say homie needs to get down and you got to take him off the X. A $140 Olympic chick is not dragging that person out. You're not going to fireman carry him. You're not going to do any of that. Mm-hmm. And so this also carries into becoming or being like the skinny dweeb. Right, you're also still not going to be able to pull off, your fucking Mark 48 gunner 100%. Off of the X, and so now it's kind of this tit for tat where I almost want to use the word incestuous, but not in a negative context, right? And you guys, this is the point that we're getting to where in a unit that is as tight-knit as it is, you always have to make sure that you have to buddy drag or carry the heaviest dude in your platoon off of the X. Mm-hmm. And if you can't do that, then you're a fucking liability. You know, because no one's gonna put the next big dude to carry the biggest dude off, right? And you don't have that opportunity.
In fact, that's a filter that the SEAL teams have built in. While I was an instructor at land warfare, something every single SEAL had to do, no matter what, through land warfare, or we would just write, like, it was trade at land warfare. We could just write the guy up as just like, yeah, recommend Trident board.
Yeah.
That is something land warfare can do.
Due to what?
It was because, so our filter for that was you had to be able to pick up a guy in your platoon of reasonable, like, same stature, height, weight, density, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
In all of their armor, ammo, water, radio, helmet, nods, weapon, everything in the soft sand on the A-dub range. Remember the A-dub range at Siphon 7? Yep. Straight up like beach. We're talking like Bud's beach sand.
That's
it's
minimum
soft
250. Even if you're only 200 pounds, it's minimum 250.
Dead, floppy,
like flat on the ground,
flaccid.
That's when you learn like the whole leg lock, kind of like
on their back. Yep. Hard, so you had to learn how to lift one leg up and then put their arms up and over their head or down by their sides, one over their head, and then flop them over onto you. And you had to get that dead floppy weight up, and you had all your shit, everything I just described.
And that's a
you
full
also
deadlift.
have.
Yeah.
You
with
had to
magazines in the back of your neck.
Yep.
Your helmet's all pushed forward.
And you had to run from your spot of picking them up 100 yards around a bush that we had picked out. It was just 100 yards away. This is all that super soft sand too. Around the bush, and then you could set them down.
Yeah.
Every single class we had 2 to 5 guys that would come back and had to retest 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
That's really hard.
It's really difficult.
It's hard to do.
Really hard to do, even if they're the same weight as you.
Yeah. You know, something interesting too. Like because I was instructor for a long time, from 2004 until active duty to the 2004 2008, and then at SQT as a civilian instructor from 2008 until 16. So we saw a lot of change in that. So like the whole SO rating wasn't even a thing until I think 2005 or 6. So the schoolhouse, I was an instructor when that whole changeover went. So everything went like big time. Navy, and it completely, it really reduced the leverage that the individual instructors had, which is good and bad. It's good that it standardized things, and it gave a much more even playing field to, like, because before it was going through in the 90s, and some instructors didn't like you for whatever reason. Like, good fucking luck, bro.
Yeah.
Like, good luck.
Even when I was going through, dude.
Yeah, there is a lot of that.
Yeah. Even if your class doesn't like you, you're fucked.
Totally.
Yeah.
But it used to be like really apparent. But now they have like big Navy standards and everything got changed into that. That was, I think, 2005 or 6, and the SO rating was established, and the individual source ratings went away.
It got way harder. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. But through that, there was a couple years later, I think it was when I was at SQT, and there was a big push to get women through combat roles. And so that's why we started to implement these very specific traits where we're like, it's always been kind of just like course. We're like, hey, we're just going to make fun if you can't do it. Yeah. But then we're like, okay, we really need to codify this stuff to make sure that we're not, we can't just say, oh, we're not letting a chick through. We got to be like, hey, she doesn't meet the standards. But we have to have the standards in place and verified for a long time before we can say, hey, we're holding to a legit standard. So that's why all these things like got codified after a while, is because it used to be just this like, mess in the sand and just fuck with people. But I mean,
they basically had parameters on how long you could surf torture.
Oh yeah.
But that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're a student, you're like, oh my God, it's forever.
Programmed and regimented. Yeah. Yeah. Even when I was going through, I think it was just like, you can't let anybody's core temp get below whatever during Hell Week. Like, everything else is pretty timed out based on the temp, which is why they make you go get a temperature before surf torture.
So at what point, when you guys got to the teams and graduated and you had your platoon, were you like, all right, where's a Winstrol? Where's the Deca? Where's the TRT?
I know my personal story on that.
Yeah,
I was never good at pull-ups, dude. Like, I sucked at pull-ups.
I also got like orangutan arms, but
dude, first time I tried to do pull-ups,
I bet he was built like you when he was younger too. You're really thick now, but you said you were like 180.
I was 185.
Guy.
Yeah,
and you
I could run. I could do like 6-minute miles for 4 miles, no problem.
You're like 6'3" or
6'1".
Okay. Fuck, dude.
But yeah,
you were like 6'3". Am I getting shorter?
I got my tall Chuck
I know
Taylors
I
on
am.
today.
I was 5'11" at.
But dude, I
swear.
sucked at pull-ups, man. I think the first time I ever tried it, I got like 5, and then I think I failed the first time in boot camp. I failed.
How old were you when you went through boot camp?
19, I think.
Okay.
But I failed the PRT to get into like
PS, yeah, it was
PSD.
PST, yeah.
I failed that for the pull-ups, so I went back and I think it was only like 8 or 9. It wasn't even a big.
It was
a big
8
number.
when I went through. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not a big number.
To get a contract, you had to do at least 14. Now you have to do at least 20.
Yeah, now it's crazy.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Like, yeah,
I swear
it's
to-
wild.
yeah.
Jesus.
It's
But
probably
even in
higher
buds,
than that.
man, I always sucked at pull-ups and always wet at chow and during third phase. But anyway, the check-in process at Team 1, and granted, I was checking it at Team 1 having just got kicked out of Army Airborne Jump School, so it's already like not a good look for me. But
I remember you telling it. I think you told this story when I was in SQT.
Probably, yeah. Well, did you get kicked out? Well, then it worked.
Yeah.
But the check-in process at Team 1, you show up in your blues and whatever, and I didn't know this at the time because it's the first time I've been to SEAL Team 1, but you're there for a while, and every time somebody checks in, it's just you know what to do.
Uh-huh.
So they come over like, Erwin Williams checking into SEAL Team 1, and you're like, everybody, the entire command goes out to the pull-up bar, which is my fucking nemesis for the entire time, and you're supposed to do 20 dead hang pull-ups, which I couldn't do anyway. I think I got up to maybe 14 or 15 at the time.
You were a new guy that was like, okay.
Yeah,
That's good. That's respectable. 14 or 15 as a new guy.
Well, yeah, it wasn't good, but
Back
it was
then,
like,
not now.
Yeah, not now. But also too. So I hop up on the pull-up bar. I'm all motivated, and this is like all these dudes, and I'm already like, they already know I just got kicked out of fucking jump school too. So I'm like, oh my God, this is not going well. So I jump up on the pull-up bar. I do a couple, and they're like, no, on my count.
Oh no!
I'm like, bro, this is not going to.
I need a rhythm, buddy.
Yeah,
it's like
so
fucking.
Then I knock out a few, and it was
skipping aloud,
dude, it was so bad. I think I only got to 10 or something by their count, and but the funny thing is they never fuck with me about it because I didn't just hop off. I stayed on until I couldn't.
You failed.
Couldn't grip it anymore, and then I immediately jumped back on until I just couldn't grab the bar anymore. So okay, this guy's weak, but at least he's trying.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah. But so then I was like, fuck this shit. I never want to feel like that again. So I worked on pull-ups. I think the most I ever did was 32 at 205 or something.
Strict?
So it's not strict, but decent.
Little kid, yeah.
Yeah. So it was I got decent at pull-ups. But after that, I'm like, dude, fuck this shit. I was already okay at running. You don't need to run much at a team. So I was like, how do I get big? So I talked to the biggest dudes there. I'm like, I want to look like you. How do I do this? They're like, let me show you, son.
Yeah. Dude, most of especially in the teams, okay, maybe there might be a long infill that every dude can suck up. Yeah. But most of the time it's just being as big and explosive and as overpowering as possible. The way we even teach, whether you're initiating a contact or you're returning fire is overwhelming force.
Mm-hmm. And
it's
even if it goes the
ingrained in
distance, it's more like strength endurance. It's not usually 1RM type strength, but it's just strength endurance. How many times can you lift 200 pounds over
violently?
Time? Right. Yeah. How many times can you do that? So it's just a different training methodology. But dude, steroids help, man.
Yeah.
They helped a lot. And also too, I was 185. I got up to at the time, because I'm 230 now, I got up to the biggest I was when I was in was I think 235. But I was 22, I think, by that point. And dude, I couldn't run. I could still run a 630.
I was just gonna ask you, what were you taking, and could you run? Yeah.
Oh, dude. Well, not.
I was on Sustanon when I was 235, 238.
Yeah.
And I tore my hamstring in half trying to run.
Oh yeah. So I was. I didn't run for a year and a half. And I had this steroid Bible book. So this is basically pre-internet. So
I used to be able to go steroid.com, which was the Bible
I remember
Probably
that.
still
Yeah,
is.
this is before that. This is like, still the 90s.
Mhm.
And so I bought this book and I had all the steroids and like which were compatible, the different types and classes and what they did. And so I would take that with me. So we went to like Thailand and Philippines and you could grab 1,000 jar of D-ball. I'm like, bro, give me that.
Oh my God.
Give me that.
I
And
have
we
a
would,
D-ball story, dude.
It's like a milk jug.
Yeah, totally, dude. And we would smuggle it back to the States and everything. I never
With a big
sold
old
anything.
warning label that just says, "Good luck, motherfucker."
Yeah. It was just our platoon. It was just like a bunch of dudes that were on the same warpath. And yeah, we never sold any. It was just for personal use. But
Yeah.
I do remember I fucked it up one time because I loaned somebody else that Bible,
hmm
the steroid Bible, and so I mixed classes of juice, and dude, it did not go well. I think we were coming back from Djibouti, and I was like super tan and everything. We're hanging out in Bahrain, waiting to go back,
hmm
and it was all fucking jacked and tan. And then, dude, lost my tan in like 2 or 3 days. Like went like almost yellow, and all my hair was falling out. Like
Yeah.
this little apartment they were in.
Clogged your liver up, bud.
Dude, it looked like a carpet of my hair on
Yeah.
the floor. So I guessing I went like pretty close to liver failure at
Yeah.
that point. So I was like, okay, I'm not
Yeah.
going to do this hardcore anymore.
Why do I look like Homer Simpson?
Yeah. The funny part is though, like even at 230 then, I really wasn't like that strong. Like I'm the same size now, but I can still run and I'm
Mhm.
way stronger. Not that I'm strong by regular
Well, there's a
standards,
lot
but,
to be
like,
said about old
way
man
stronger than I
strength.
was. It's a real
Like,
thing, dude.
I mean, you look at Hafthor Bjornsson, he tore his pec off the bone. What was that, 3.5 years ago? And he just broke the world record last year.
yeah.
Your body can get back, like your central nervous system is really like where that training comes from. It remembers like, oh, I can move this way.
Yeah, I think it's also too just an expectation. Like
Mhm.
you
It's
have
similar to the 4-minute mile being broken. Yeah.
yeah.
Once one person broke it, we went like 100 years where we were like, that's
Nobody's
humanly
doing it.
impossible.
It's
and
weird
one
that
person
that
broke it,
happens.
and like a week later, 4 other people did
Yeah.
it or some shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah, old man strength's a real thing, dude.
It is a real thing.
Did
yeah.
you guys? Obviously, this is probably widely accepted all the way up to like platoon leader and chief.
Oh no.
No, it
you
was
had
still
to
on
be
the DO
super-
with, like, the
super
younger
undergrad.
enlisted.
There was only a couple people that you could trust with it because it's
Yeah.
still highly illegal.
Yeah. And
And-
there are guys that are staunch, straight edge. Like you would never talk to them about this.
Yeah, you wouldn't want. And also too,
Yeah.
the people that are in the middle ground, you don't want to put them in a bad position.
Right.
So
Exactly.
you just
Yeah.
don't tell them anything, and that way they're not in a position where they have to hide
Right,
anything for
right.
you.
It's not
You
guilty
know?
by association kind of vibes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just like it's almost like for their own protection, and
Right.
it's a courtesy to not let them in on it.
Yeah.
You know.
But also, I mean, we have to call a spade, right? And they're noticing that, Williams went from 185 to 225.
It's visibly odd.
It's like,
obvious to
we don't know,
everyone.
dude.
Yeah.
and then you're
Even the
taking
guys on
showers
it
together
know, yeah.
or like your shirt's off and you're like, nice backing there, bud.
Mhm.
But, when I was a relatively senior leader, I saw the same thing and they wouldn't tell me because obviously it's almost like the guilty by association kind of things.
Yeah.
Even though I'd already been there before, but I didn't care and I didn't say anything. The only thing I ever did say to my guys was like, be smart about this and know what you're doing.
Mhm.
That way you're still an asset and you're not risking, going pale in 3 days and losing all your
Yeah.
fucking hair.
And I was in a weird
Changes over
position
time.
as a medic. So like
Oh yeah.
they'd come on my first deployment, I lived in the med tent. And I would notice like they'd suddenly my inventory would change. And guys would come into my clinic with abscesses. So I was super open about it. From the time I was a new guy, I was like, dude, I do it too. Let's just talk about this. Stop using 18 gauge needles to inject.
Dude,
For
shit,
the
right?
love of
Yeah.
God.
it leaves a hole.
Stabbing yourself with a pencil.
Here's some combat gauze.
I did that once the first time. I was like, dude, how do these guys do this all the
Yeah.
time?
We don't.
Yeah. I'm
And
like,
also, let's switch the spots up every once in a while. Like we don't have to use the same
the butt cheek, the delt, the quad.
God damn.
I got it in my head. So the one steroid that you actually can spot inject that's actually useful is Winstrol Depot. And I've always had small calves, even though my legs are like decent size now, still have small calves. But I think it was my second deployment. I was like spot injecting like my triceps and everything. And I tried to get somebody to spot inject my traps and they wouldn't do it. But I was like, you know what I can reach though? I was like, I can reach my calves. So I
can reach my calves.
I tried.
I just imagine Ryan like duct taping a needle on the back and just like leans into it. Just hit the plunger. Oh wait, that's a spine.
He's got like a mirror.
Oh God.
Mirror in a mirror.
I thought about it. I tried it. It just wouldn't work. But I did do my calves one time. I tried it, and oh my God, dude! Do
you get the pain, like the soreness after?
Well, I couldn't walk. I ended up walking
one.
like a fucking like retarded penguin after like a day and a half. I think I got an infection, so I had to talk to my corpsman. It's like, hey, bro.
Yeah, that's what I said. Dudes had to talk to me. I'm like,
I had to get some of the Axiclean or whatever the fuck it is. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, I'm never injecting my fucking calves again.
Dude, I had a guy do his pec. And he got
used to do
an
all the time.
abscess in his pec, which it is fine if you know how. I taught him how to do it later, like how to
you
grab
gotta
the
like
meat,
make sure there's meat in there. Yeah.
lax it up. Yeah. Well, same with your ass. Like some dudes will put all their weight on the cheek and be like,
oh yeah.
There's a little technique to it, but I would rather them come to me and talk about it, what they're doing, because I can give them like, I looked into it very much. So for a little bit of background, I was always one of the more nerdy medics. I really enjoyed it a lot. And I would just study and read tons and tons
cool
of
stuff.
research. I was constantly PubMed, like looking up like guys' questions or even my own. I would read my TMAPs before I went to bed and stuff. So like I would rather them come and talk to me, than deal with some shit that they're lying to me about. Or that I could have been like, dude, just do it this way. So that risk was okay with me, especially because like I was already doing it myself. And I also wanted those dudes to be at their best.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be completely transparent and honest with you. At the time, everybody was like, yeah, it's going to cause liver damage. It's going to shorten your life. It's going to do.
That's what we thought.
Yeah. And that is true to a degree.
Well, if you're a pro bodybuilder blasting massive amounts of gear, then
100%. What we were doing and the way we were doing it was probably not the best, especially at the age I was doing it. Maybe, I don't know about you. I
was
can't
like
speak
20,
for you.
21, 22.
So then, that was a terrible,
young,
you should have waited a decade before even.
This is advice I'd give to other people, but I still would do the same thing.
100%, bro. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I'm smarter.
But I was the same dipshit. Bro, I was right there with you. And also, given the circumstances, maybe a lot of other people would have done the exact same thing. Yeah, I would have still done it.
Because I remember we were training with the Australian, not the SAS, but the first Commando Regiment out there. Mm-hmm. And so we heard from them, and I don't know how true this is or not, but supposedly their SAS guys would get actually administered steroids. I'm like, dude, that makes sense. I heard it was Winstrol at the time, but who fucking knows what the real story is? But I'm like, dude, it makes so much sense. Like, why would you not want your guys to peak capability?
The U.S. has also done it several times, experimented with it.
Oh,
they should do it.
They've
Even
done a shit
recent,
ton. I mean, they're still giving the pilots fucking meth to this day.
Yeah.
But I always had a complex.
I love that we do it for operators, right?
Yeah.
Dude, it's like,
here, take this meth and stay up. But don't do any steroids.
Oh, wait. Let's switch from meth to Provigil or fucking Adderall, which is still meth.
Yeah. I love steroids, man. To be honest, like it's been, on and off.
And if monitored, they're safe.
Yeah, totally. Now I just do like super low dose TRT and HGH. And dude, it's fantastic. I'm 47 now. I'm like, stronger than I've ever been. Not strong, but like powerlifting standards, but like by my own standards. I can still do 20 pull-ups,
Practically strong, yeah.
Yeah. I have my own little stand where I have like the 3-4-5 standard.
Yeah, I love that.
Bench press, 3 plates, squat 4 plates, and deadlift 5 plates.
That's a really good one.
I'm not like crushing those, but I can do them. And I think at 47, I'm like, okay, that's a reasonable.
That's great.
I'm totally fine with that. I'm not trying to
really
go crazy with it.
Yeah, and Rogan's not fucking complaining with that fucking standard either.
Dude, it's great, man. It really helps with like just life in general. I'm like, but people are like, oh, you're cheating. I'm like, who the fuck am I cheating, bro? Like an average version of myself.
All right,
like, I'll cheat that motherfucker every day of the week.
Make your own standard that you have to meet,
right.
Or just meet my standard, and then
I think you should have standards. But I mean, it's like, I'm not competing with anyone. I'm not in the cage match. I'm not in professional sports. Like, I'm not competing with anyone except an average version of myself. I'm like, okay, well, why the fuck would I not take every advantage over being average?
Right. Well, I mean, it's no different than, and I'm sure that the fat bitch taking Ozempic is fucking going to be the first person to tell you that shit.
Oh,
yeah. Ozempic. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same tip for tat. It's the same, like, oh my God, I get like the worst anxiety.
Well,
and you're doing this and this and this and this. So,
taking
like,
all your SSRIs,
everybody's throwing rocks in my glass fucking house if they have an issue with this.
Well, it's the main personality type. It's the people who love to have excuses. Well, oh, I could have done this, but this. I could do that too, but this. Like, oh, he's on steroids, meaning I could do that too, except I don't want to do steroids. Like a somehow pious position for them. I'm like, no, dude, the steroids do not work if you don't work.
That's true.
I call those people who identify as victims.
yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah,
I'm always a victim. Okay.
Yeah, but it's like, dude, it's just you're highlighting their own cowardice and ineptness by your achievements, and they whittle it away, they fritter away. They're like, oh, he's on steroids. Oh, he's, as if that's just as if I was a couch potato and all of a sudden,
right?
And also my responses to that, like, yeah, I told you that,
dude. I tell them like, they're like, you look like you do steroids. I'm like, you look like you need some.
Like,
that's the equivalent to saying like.
Like, thank you.
Yeah, my truck could beat your Lamborghini if it had a Lamborghini engine.
That's literally identical.
It's the same thing, dude.
Well, dude, the crazy shit in the Army, right? So it was 2007. So growing up, obviously, you know, tall, lanky, skinny dude. Right before we deployed, I'm out partying. And there was this girl at the bar that I've always been trying to fucking smash. And I don't know why she even let me get this far, right? But we get back to her place, and I'm like trying to put the moves on her, and she's like, 9, Nick, you're too skinny.
9 was in Germany?
Yeah, this is in Germany. And I was like, oh, like she just like crushed me, right? And I was like, all right, whatever. So I went to bed. And so like a week later, we went to Ramadi. And so we're in Ramadi probably about like 8 months, and then we switched outposts and we lost a few guys, and so we had like this big like battalion formation, and our battalion command sergeant major comes out. One of our guys had just gotten shot by a sniper and went right through his plate, like on this side, smoked both of his pecs, and then like came out the back.
Wow.
So we're in this battalion formation, right? And already quite a few of my guys were juicing. We were getting it from the turrets, you know, all that stuff. And they're
local
big as
pharmacies.
fuck.
You walk in, grab it.
Oh, it's amazing.
And so we're standing there, and our sergeant major is like this like country bumpkin guy. He's probably like all of like 5'8", 5'7", and just like diesel. And he's like, you know what happened? Fucking Specialist Wormter? Specialist Wormter got shot by a motherfucking sniper. You want to know why Specialist Wormter didn't die? Because he got them big ass titties. He's like, you know why he got them big ass titties? Because he's on that big ass juice. He's like, so I recommend if you all motherfuckers don't want to die by one of these goddamn Haji snipers, I recommend you get on them big ass fucking juice, titty fucking juice.
You talked me into it.
And I'm like, right. And I'm looking kind of like down the line, and like every first sergeant and company commander's like, oh, fuck, dude, like the battalion
not gonna be skinny anymore.
The battalion command sergeant major just blessed off on his entire battalion taking steroids. And so I'm like, cowabunga, baby. So I hit up my fucking sniper partner, Craig, and I'm like, all right, dude, I'm ready. Let's go. And so he hooked me up like with all the shit that I needed. I started juicing, and at the time I was probably like 180, 185, and went up to 210. And still fucking fast as fuck. But now I had like muscle on me, right? And he was dick dragging me through like the squats and the fucking deadlifts. Like there was one time I couldn't even go out on
bar,
mission.
Dude.
Yeah, and like I was benching like 275 or 295 or something, which is huge for me at the time. And so we're all in juice, and then we get back, and I'm at that same bar, and we're all celebrating and shit. And that same chick is like, "Oh man, Nick, like, you're looking big now." And I'm like,
"Goddamn
"Fucking
right.
know I am, mama." And
that's thick, Nick.
So Here's the funniest part of this story, dude. Is fucking that night. Finally, I was like, all right, I'm just like, I hated her because of that, because she gave me such a complex.
Yeah, you had. You were spiteful
but I'm like,
about it.
now
like,
I'm just gonna fucking destroy you. And so I took her back, beaten guts, and all of a sudden, like, I came out a little too far, like head poked out, and then went back. And I'm like, that feels different.
I thought I got bigger.
No, dude, so I start running my thumb down the back end to try to figure out like why it was different, but it just went in her ass. But the thing is, like, she didn't skip a beat. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how did it go from like tight all the way through to like just tight right here?
You should have just accepted the loss the first time, Nick. Come on.
I was fine with it after that, and I was just and then left it at that. But then carrying on after, obviously living in Europe in 07, like it was a lot easier to like get steroids and shit.
Yeah.
So we were all doing it. And then by that time, I wasn't like the black sheep anymore, because I kind of proved myself downrange. And so, you know, it's kind of getting schools and stuff. And then I just sat at 210 for kind of like the rest of my career until I got the recce. And then I went back on another cycle. And the best part of like living in Colorado is I got up to 235 in recce, but I was still able to run a 5.5 minute mile.
Dang.
And like, dude,
That's fast for anyway.
And like all we did in
straight up,
recce, because like we would have to like show face to the battalion like during the day, but we only went to the ranges at night, right? It is kind of just when we operated. And so I would show up to work at like 09, 1000, and then we would just work out and then kind of prep everything for like our, you know, night training and all that stuff. And back up to 230. And since I got out, like it's still a complex, right? And I've been on TRT, got back up to 230 like 2 Christmases ago, but then all of a sudden I'm washing my hair and I'm like, uh-oh. And then my prostate got too big, and then I couldn't get hard anymore. And then I'm just like sweating through the bed sheets all the time. I'm like, maybe I need to dial this shit back.
Yeah, you got to it's got to.
Trying to find like a fine line and a balance there.
Yeah.
Because like normally now I sit at like 205. But if I had like an ideal weight, it'd be like 225.
What's the dosage you're at right now?
Right now, I'm only doing 0.5 every 2 weeks.
0.5 of a 200?
Yeah.
Okay, so 100 extra. Yeah, I was on I was doing 200 a week, but I got my test check and it was like 15 fucking hundred. I'm like, that shouldn't be
high.
That shouldn't be right, you know.
It's high, but it's not like outrageous.
Yeah, but I didn't feel like a fucking gorilla though, you know what I mean? I felt really normal.
Yeah, because I got
you should be below 1,000 and above 500.
Well, I'm also doing anti-estrogen because when I was juicing, like doing actual steroids,
realistically
I never did testosterone because my body converts it to estrogen super fast, so I get like bitch tits, and I just never did.
So
test.
you need to keep
Yeah, so but now
if you're going to get that high and test, your estrogen better be equally just as high.
Yeah, well, that's what I was doing. I was doing anti-estrogen and estrogen blockers.
That's a lot, dude.
Because it's Clomid.
How much were you at 200?
Clomid, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going, because this is
this is like
point.
right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, dude. It's interesting. I was.
I'm doing
talking about this today.
0.75 mil. So it's basically
Once a week?
150, 175 a week.
Yeah. You're sipping it.
Pinning twice a week.
Yeah, that's about one. Yeah, that's one. Because I do 0.4 twice a week, so that's 200. You're at 175.
Yeah, similar. Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing: humans are subjective, and we all respond to steroids differently, and the amount that you respond to is super subjective.
Mm-hmm.
Like some guys can take 50 milligrams and they'll shoot up to 1,500. Some guys need, 200 or 500 a week to get to that level.
I was at 273 when I first started,
subjective.
so it was really low.
And men work on a 24-hour cycle. So it depends on when you take this measurement, and also like what happened the last few days.
That's true. And then, I just met with the VA today, and my doctor was saying that one of his patients was like a 250 and was getting like 4 hours of sleep a night, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Came back a month later after getting 8 hours of sleep a night, and he was at an 800.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then also squats, right? Squats really boost up your testosterone levels.
They do both. They plummet them and then they raise them.
Okay.
It's a big old bell curve.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it depends within, especially squats or deadlift, because it takes like those are big compound lifts. It takes like 3 to 4 days for most
Yeah.
males. When they really go to within their like 100th percentile
It
or
takes a
90th,
big CNS hit.
it takes
Your
a
central
long
nervous
time to
system.
recover. You could do
Yeah.
arms and shoulders like every other fucking day,
Yeah.
and you'll recover.
Because that's just a muscle
Yeah.
hit. But your central nervous system hit, for like
Right.
a max effort lift, bro.
and your
it takes
hormones are
like
daily.
3 days to recover.
And depending on where your central nervous system is, how much sleep you got, how much you've been drinking, like there's a lot. So like to get a realistic reading of where your testosterone is, it would have to be like, what's your basic lifestyle over like several times a day over a week.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Doc told me to come back in because I told him I wanted a testosterone test again, just to try to figure out like if my like 0.5 levels bi-weekly is kind of enough. Also, I'm doing HGH now, and this is only as of recently, right? Because for the past 3 months, I've been just absolutely sending it, treat my body like absolute trash.
Sometimes you gotta.
Yeah. I mean,
There's seasons for that.
when you got buddies in town and it's
Yeah.
a fucking thing.
I mean, that's also kind of the theme of this podcast, baby.
So I just kind of want to see where I'm at because like the last testosterone test I got, I was at like a 250. And that's pretty fucking low for a 37-year-old.
Yes.
Like I want to be 800, 900.
Yeah.
I think
That'd be good.
is ideal. So I'm just trying to find that variance.
Yeah, without it fucking up your life too.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it can change your personality significantly.
Well, when I
even
was
depending on the
doing
drug you're using.
when I was like sending it and I was 230 2 Christmases ago, like everything about me was fine personality wise, other than the fact that like I just wanted to fuck all the
Your
time.
libido.
and I was always sweaty, but other than that, like I was fine. But I also missed like that obsession with the gym. Like if I took a day off, like I got pissed because like I wasn't in there because I felt like that was like my release for all of like the just
it's
kind
a
of
drug,
testosterone.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, oh fuck, that felt so good. And then when I'm done, then I have the peace of mind. It's in the like knocked out the gym. Now I'm just like, let's eat.
It's still there
Yeah.
though, even when you're not on test.
Yeah,
it's
it
just
is.
it's
It's
not
just
as you don't
habitual.
have. Yeah, you just don't have the drive. To get, you're not
Yeah.
as aggressive. To
Well,
get
when I
there,
was
yeah.
doing heavy like actual steroid cycles, because TRT is a steroid, obviously, but like I
100%.
don't feel
That's what it
I
is.
feel completely normal. Like I feel the same as when I was on 273 test as 1500. I literally
Yeah.
can't tell the difference, and I'm usually pretty.
You mean
aware
as
of
no
that.
test and 273 tests, you feel the same? Yeah.
No, I mean when my test was 273 and 1500.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
gotcha.
I feel the same. Like
Yeah.
I don't.
But your personality doesn't change.
No, personality doesn't change. But I did notice when I was doing like actual cycles of like really big juice, I felt two things. I felt fucking great. Like I felt like a fucking golden gorilla, dude. Like I was ready
Yeah.
to go, you know? But also
Yeah.
too, I was a lot nicer when I was on juice because I'm naturally pretty aggressive. So like I would always get in these altercations with like somebody, you know, crossing the street wrong or something innocuous, little stupid thing.
Mhm.
And when I was on juice, I'd always give myself a pause. I'm like, am I really mad about this? Or is this just me maybe overreacting because I'm on an obscene amount of juice? And then, so I would always err on the side of like, you know, if I'm not sure, I'm just going to let it go.
Yeah.
So I was actually,
That's all- yeah.
I
Because
was
if you
actually a
did
lot
something, you don't
nicer.
want to blame it on that. And then all
Right.
this-
Exactly.
Yeah.
then you feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
Because
But now I'm just like, but that was a nice thing about not being on juice. I'm like, motherfuckers deserved it. I'm like, still second guess.
I'm as sane as I'm
Yeah.
going to get.
No,
And you're still a fucking loser.
This is a
Yes.
clear set of mind, dude.
And I still want to hit you.
I checked with myself and you deserve it. Yeah, no shit, man. Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
So how was it for you, Tim? When you were in that and you were obviously kind of looking over the guys, what was the percentage in a platoon that you would say were actively kind of getting big versus the others?
30%, a third of the platoon, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe in a more conservative platoon, like 25%. And then there were some straight up cowboy platoons where every single dude
The East
was
Coast
doing
ones?
it. Yeah, it just.
I feel like it would be the East Coast ones.
It just depended. Like in my
Oh, they're
personal
definitely on the
experience,
West
it was
Coast, too.
maybe a third
Yeah.
of us were like,
Yeah.
And they were it's just like my guys that were doing it were just had no fucking clue what they were doing, which is why I was like, dude, just involve me.
Helpful.
Yeah.
Especially because I was the medic. I was like, let's at least do this safely, which I think worked out for them. But like I said, like I found out about that by guys coming in with abscesses and they were literally febrile.
Yeah.
They had fevers. And I was like, okay, well, I have to give you antibiotics now, dude. You gave yourself a huge infection.
Right.
Hopefully we don't have to cut this open and drain all that.
Thankfully, I never got that far along.
Well, sorry, bud, your butt is a little pussy. I mean, pustulant, whatever.
Well, so there was a few times there. I don't remember. I think I was injecting in my butt, and this is TRT. But one of my guys told me this that I served with, where there's a time where it just kind of like doesn't dissipate. And do you ever kind of get like body sensitivity issues, right? Where like your skin's like super sensitive to the touch. I heard it was like a side effect of like TRT, like not like displacing
locally,
itself.
like where you?
No, like I was getting it to where like especially on the inside of my triceps, like it was like super tender for some reason, and in order to get like chills for no reason.
This was test or
yeah, it was just TRT.
Yeah,
you know? I don't know.
If
so
you do too
he's
much
like,
growth, it can
maybe-
cause
I was going to
parasitic.
say like, HGH. That's how you know HGH is working because your wrist will get a little like tingly in the morning.
really?
You'll
Yeah.
wake up in the middle of the night and you'll be like laying flat with your hands by your side and you'll be numb from the elbow down. That
Yeah.
means you're doing too much.
Yeah, I was doing
Yeah.
I think 0.4 or 0.5 a day.
That's
And
yeah.
I was-
I was at like 0.5 or 0.6.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, it was
we need
too
to
much.
talk after this.
like paresthesias. Yeah.
So then I dialed it back down. Now I'm at like 0.3.5 every day, and that seems like
Mhm.
good baseline for results. And
on
I
the
don't recommend
diabetic
more than
needles.
0.2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
I've been at one.
And 0.2 is if you're injecting 1 mil, so that'd be 2 international units and a 10 international unit.
yeah, I just have a 10. I have a 10 unit vial, so I just keep it
Yeah.
super
I've,
simple.
I have those ones, but I've been going
Yeah.
to the 1 mark.
Well, they say the minimum
Then
effective
that's
dose.
1 international unit. Yes, you're fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't the minimum effective dose 0.2 though? Which would be 2 international units.
I've never heard that.
I don't know either. I just heard it somewhere.
No,
should get somebody who really
I do.
knows steroids.
I normally do 0.1 or 0.2, and it's what I recommend people do is 0.1 or 0.2,
Oh, really?
just
Okay.
therapeutically.
Mm.
If you're looking, so like another time, 2 times I did human growth hormone overseas were just injuries. The first time I tore my hamstring playing soccer with the Yemenis, and I was on rotation to go out with Damnick at the time to do the hostage rescue. I was out there at the time where the Houthis took over, and Barack gave us 24 hours to get out. So we were. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this yet, but if you go look at that time, you can see what hostage rescue situations we were a part of
Mhm.
during that time. So I wanted to get back on the rotation list because I wanted to be QRF for like
Right.
going to get this motherfucker. So I had the Terp, and this is how most guys do it. And we have connections other places, but overseas, you just talk to your Terp. They go to a pharmacy out in town, and it's like Mexico here. You walk in and say, I want
that's
whatever.
Whatever
Give
you
them cash,
want, which
you
is the
walk
way it
out.
should be.
Yeah.
Like personal accountability, responsibility. Like, hey,
Well,
whatever
our
you
prison
want.
system
You
wouldn't be as much of an ordeal either. If
That's
we,
a whole other thing. Yeah.
that's a whole nother podcast. So I did it for that tear, and then when I was in Iraq, we were getting this is actually the day after JJ died. We were getting shot at on the mountainside above Bashika, the village where JJ died, and I was up in the MATV, the fucking up armored monster trucks, and I was trying to pull a grid off the A pass that was on the dash, and I thought I was on the bottom rung. There's 2 steps to get into a MATV, but I was on the top one, and they're fucking high off the ground. So I like go to step down, and I think I'm gonna catch myself, like wearing all my body armor.
Yeah.
I'm like 280 to
That's a
300
big drop.
pounds with everything on. And I roll my ankle immediately, and I crack my talar dome in half, which is like the bone that your tibia connects to on your ankle. It's the
Oh,
big
dang.
dome that it rolls on. I cracked it right down the middle. And I just like laying on my chest, like
That's
I
a
couldn't
move.
speak. Yeah, Steve, or sorry. Yeah, I can't say his name.
we'll block it out.
My buddy comes up to my chief. He's like, "Are you shot?" And I'm like,
Like, no, that would have been cooler.
I was like, no. And he's like, "Do you need anything?" I'm like, "Tore it all So I crawled in the back of the Mat V like 10 minutes later, and I got Toradol injected into my butt and just stayed out in the field.
Oh God!
But when we got back to the house, same thing. Sent the terp out, and I was just doing 5 or 6 international DC days. When I got I was like, I just want to heal up as fast as possible.
It works.
We had a game ready.
So good for that.
And I would just walk.
Does it work really well?
Oh yeah,
incredibly well. And then you just walk, like do normal things, as painful as it's going to sound, especially if you have an ankle injury. Just walk on it, dude.
Mm.
Like people are so afraid, like, oh, make it worse. Like even if you're not doing HGH, you need to like make it a little bit painful to recover. It's going to recover a lot faster.
Tony Hawk said that.
Yeah. Dude, it's so fucking true.
Yeah.
And then you pair that with HGH, like, dude,
good to go.
A month on and I was like, let's fuck. Like,
dude,
I was fine though. I just kept wrapping it tight as fuck with an ace bandage, but we would go out once a week after that for 3 or 4 days.
It's funny.
Come back, rest 3 or 4 days.
You just do what you do at the time. I broke my back in a street fight years ago. And I didn't realize, I didn't get x-rays till like a month later. And I realized like 2 of the spinal processes had snapped off. And they're like, it looks like they snapped off, but they healed back on. So you're good to go. I'm like, that would explain why it fucking hurts so bad, dude.
Why do they look all crooked and squiggly?
Oh my God. That was definitely the worst pain of my life. But yeah, sometimes you just got to like, well, fuck it. Just go through it, you know?
Yeah.
You want to give us a time check on where you need to be, buddy?
Yeah, I got to go get the Rugrats.
Okay.
I have tons of stories and that stuff. I've for the Liberty risk.
Do we have one bar fight story or somebody?
I do have one, but we can't really go like back and forth on it for any amount of time. We could do that for another one. Is I was in Phoenix, and that's another drug thing, dude. When I was in the SEAL teams, like after a couple deployments, it was pretty easy to get prescribed Adderall, and that's across. Nobody talks about this, like. Across the whole military, you'll come back from deployments and complain about focus and attention, and even whether it's the military doing it or they'll send you out into town. And maybe this has changed since I've been out, but while I was in, they'll just keep giving you meth. And I mean, that being said, like that's what SF popcorn was for a while. Then it became Provigil, and it's actually been a few street drugs.
Is Provigil better than Adderall, or more effective, or is there any difference?
They're different classes. Provigil is what they call the shift worker medicine.
It's been around a long time. I mean, the fucking Third Reich was using it in World War II. Like it's been around.
So
a long time.
You do a lot of anything that's gonna change the way your brain operates.
Yeah.
Your neural pathways probably more than anything. I'm not going to like talk about the chemistry of it, but like the way you think is going to change a lot.
Yeah.
If you do an upper or a downer, or anything that affects your mental, I guess, bandwidth or energy levels.
Yeah.
Whether it's a drowsiness or an upper, it's going to affect you.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can always tell everybody I've met who's like an actual addict.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're all recovered now, there's something about them. You can tell.
Twitchy,
Something's about them. I don't know what it is, but like you can always tell.
I got a lot of friends that got hooked on oxys in high school, and I go back now and like link up with them. I'm like, something off. Like I almost can't put my finger on it, but like you're just off. And
well, drugs do that, but too, I think certain experiences do that. I know, like, and this is gonna sound
in the
stupid.
age you are.
Yeah, in the age you are too, but like I think age is just a normal metric for experience because like if you're 40, you have a general like you should have experienced these things at this time, but also too
and anatomical things like smoking weed before you're 18 is stupid.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. It was fun though.
But it does have I
actually just quit.
There's deeper repercussions to it.
Yeah, but I think if you experience life, like we've all experienced a lot of life for relatively few years, I think you tend to have a different outlook on it from like a compressed. You compress your mentality from like how an 80-year-old might look at life.
That's true.
To like now you're in 35 looking at it like because you've experienced so much at like 35 that somebody would live like normal 3 lifetimes and still wouldn't experience like half that.
Yep.
So you just have a different perspective on it. So drugs are one way to alter that, but experience is really definitely like
Yeah.
shape that too.
Definitely
and
a
age
common
too.
tale of the GWAT veteran too, is like how much you experience in such a short amount of time. Especially for all of us.
Well, I never got to go to war. I just have a lot of bar fights.
You're still like a GWAT vet, like just the culture meant like.
Well, I
What
can
we're like.
I can wrap up this cast with a small story that actually just happened. So there's a signal chat that Tim and I are in that is full of fucking pipe hitters. And there's one of just the shit talking, and then there's one of like the work, right? Like if you need to find out like what the conflicts and current situation and the embassies and safe houses and everything like that in Djibouti or fucking North Carolina or South America are, like, you can find it out in this group. It is nothing but SOCOM guys from around the world.
Wow.
And one of the guys hit me up. I don't even remember how we got talking, but he was asking about my documentary that I made, Let's Talk About the War, which is a 6-part series that kind of just really kind of boils down like the GWAT experience. And he asked me permission if he could show it to a group of 30 Vietnam vets in a PTSD kind of like AA group, for lack of a better term.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, dude, yeah, go for it, man. You know, by all means, if it's going to help. Didn't help. He said fucking 15 out of the 30 walked out in the first 14 minutes, which is only the first episode. And the first episode is War Animal. And it talks about how it changes, you know, young impressionable dudes into being a fucking war animal. And so you kind of expounded on it and said, like, I was awoken by like this experience and watching these guys like sobbing, like walking out. And they said that it was too much. And also, like, our generation's a lot different. And he's yet to send me an email kind of expounding on that and talking about it. But it's crazy to think that, like, our experience is different, right? Like, I watched, you know, Ed Burns Vietnam documentaries, and I watched World War II in color and stuff like that. And we think that, like,
different.
it's so vastly different. And now for these guys to see very fucking real GWAT experiences across the board, from SOCOM to the officers to the enlisted, they were shook. And I don't really know that I can even say much more on it, but it was interesting to see that, like, they all walked out and they couldn't even make it to the happy ending that I added at the end, which is when, you know, guys like us have actually kind of found ourselves again, and we found a new purpose, and we're no longer living in the Uncle Rico back in my day war days, and you know, kind of made something out of ourselves, unlike a lot of other guys. But it was pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, you got to get the crescendo to get the full story.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, Tim's got to go to his younglings, and
adult responsibilities, man.
Obviously,
Yeah, that's what
we have a bunch more episodes to do with you.
Hell yeah, dude.
There's no qualms there.
Yeah, let's do it. We kind of just like, that's fun to talk about. Let's do it.
Yeah,
there's a lot more. I'd love to do more.
Yeah. There's absolutely tons.
We'll call
more.
it like the Brig and bar fights or something.
Oh God. Dude.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We got to talk about wasted management. We got to talk about Phoenix. We got to talk about the Brig. But
anything that's the statute of limitations has expired.
There's several. Yeah, we're good.
All right, perfect.
all right, guys. Well, thanks for everything, and thank you all.